There's no question that we're in a fantasy genre resurgence right now, across all forms of media. From hit TV shows like House of the Dragon and The Lord of the Rings of Power, to the sheer increase in the number of romantasy, a portmanteau for romantic fantasy books dominating bestseller lists, it seems we're in need of more escapism in our stories than ever before. Being able to plunge oneself into a completely different world with either the turn of a page or by pressing play on an episode of television is a thought that holds increasing appeal in our current climate. But even among dragons and elves, one fantasy world has set itself apart on streaming. Prime Video's The Wheel of Time. Adapted from the late Robert Jordan's best-selling series by showrunner Rafe Judkins, The Wheel of Time has gradually been coming into its own alongside its fellow big-budget small-screen fantasy adaptations. While Season 1, which I, personally, enjoyed, was beleaguered by obstacles like the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as one lead actor's unexpected departure, Season 2 embraced some of the original book's darkest and most intense storylines, leading to some brutally unforgettable performances and introducing more of the series' most powerful villains in The Forsaken. With another long wait between the show's second and third seasons, it initially seemed as though time, ironically, wasn't on the Wheel of Time's side. Now that the series is finally set to return this week, however, any concerns about a dip in quality or a lack of narrative urgency should sufficiently be put to rest. Season 3 of The Wheel of Time, of which all 8 episodes were provided for review, raises the bar for this epic fantasy series in every way, from intense battles to complex characters to new environments that build out an already expansive world into something even richer. What is The Wheel of Time Season 3 about? After the battle in Falm, which finally saw Rand al'Thor Joshua Stradowski declare himself as the Dragon Reborn, the man who is either prophesied to save the world or destroy it, our band of heroes has reunited, for a time, in the city of Tar Valon when The Wheel of Time Season 3 begins. While it feels good to see the Emmons Field 5 and friends all back together again, this group is notably weighted down by everything they experienced while split up in Season 2, and despite their efforts to pretend otherwise, you can feel the underlying tension in more ways than one. Egwene Alvir Madeline Madden is still dealing with the aftereffects of the trauma she experienced while in the clutches of the Shanshan, falling into nightmares involving her torture at the hands of the long-dead Rena Zelia Mendes-Jones. Nynaeve Almera Zoe Robbins is still trying to fix what frustrates her more than anyone else at this point, her block with the One Power. Meanwhile, after getting his big hero moment by blowing the horn of Valere, Matt Cawthon Donnell Finn is experiencing some unsettling side effects, even as he tries to return to pursuing his favorite activities, gambling and flirting with pretty girls. Perrin Ibarra Marcus Rutherford is feeling more and more inclined to leave all of this business about the pattern behind and return home to the Two Rivers, even though everywhere he goes, people remark about his golden eyes. Elaine Traken Sira Kavani is torn between her future responsibilities as daughter-heir of Andor and her aspirations of becoming a full Aes Sedai, while Aiel warrior Avienda Ayula Smart remains skeptical that a wetlander could possibly be the Karakarn, the fabled leader her people have also been prophesying. Rand is outwardly grateful to be spending time with his friends again, but he's aware of the fact that his life will never be the same now that he's embraced his fate. He's also butting heads with Moiraine Rosamund Pike, who is becoming alerted to the reality that the Dragon Reborn refuses to become a pawn in anyone's game, while dutifully continuing his sword training with Moiraine's warder Alan Mandragoran Daniel Henney. Moiraine isn't the only character with a vested interest in Rand's future. Lanfear Natasha O'Keefe, trying to remain one step ahead of the newly freed members of the Forsaken, chief among them Mahadi and Lya Costa, seems initially willing to offer some kind of partnership if it means nudging the Dragon Reborn towards the path he needs to be on. As the characters keep reminding us, the last battle is coming, and if our heroes want any hope of winning it, then Rand needs to secure an allegiance with Tar Valon's White Tower, currently overseen by the Amyrlin seat, Siwan Sanch Sophie Okanito. The only problem there is that the White Tower is currently facing strife and division within its very walls. As that bonkers Season 3 opening scene previously confirmed, there are dark friends, those who have sworn their lives to the shadow. Among the Aes Sedai, members of the rumored Black Aja, led by Leandrin Kate Fleetwood, who finally unveil themselves with particularly bloody results. With enemies all around them and conflicting plans about where to go next, our main characters are forced to split up once more, with some returning to familiar territory while others journey to the far reaches of the Wheel of Time's world. The Wheel of Time, Season 3 impressively juggles a large number of plots and characters. In terms of episode count, The Wheel of Time Season 3 could have very well fallen prey to a fate that befalls so many other fantasy shows: too much story to tell and not enough runway to tell it. Yet the latest installment of this particular fantasy show manages to pack an impressive amount of plot into only 8 episodes, hitting the imperative beats of Jordan's 4th book, The Shadow Rising, while also laying the groundwork for equally important future storylines. While it's sad to see the main cast scattered yet again in Season 3, it's a move that allows the Wheel of Time's world to grow, introducing new and expansive environments like the Isle Waste, which boasts the fabled city of Ruidian, and Tanchico, where the wrong step on its overcrowded docks could be treacherous for any one of these characters. The series also returns us to the Two Rivers, which is where the story first began, but there are just as many dangers, if not more, lurking in the shadows. Beyond the physical plane, the dream realm of Teleronriad is only limited by what the mind can think of, from clothing to setting, but any violence unleashed there can have lasting effects once someone returns to the waking world, up to and including potential death. On a purely visual level, the efforts of the Wheel of Time's production team, ranging from costume designer Sharon Gilham to production designer Andre Nekvasil to production VFX supervisor Andy Scrace, ensure that this show continues to look like nothing else on TV. Alongside these new locations comes the reveal that there isn't just one way to be a woman who can channel, and that the Aes Sedai way of doing things may not always be the correct one, despite the institution's long history. The Waste introduces the addition of the Wise Ones, among them Bear, played arrestingly by Nukaka Koster Waldau, and Melanie, an unflappable Salome Gunnersdottir, who take Egwene under their wing while also offering a crash course in Isle culture to the characters who now find themselves immersed in so much unfamiliarity. Yet the Wise Ones aren't the only surprise channelers we meet outside of the Aes Sedai, and it's a reminder that true power can manifest in the unlikeliest places. As Alana Mosvani Priyanka Bose discovers for herself in the Two Rivers, the old blood still runs strong in the descendants of Manetheren, which will come in handy when the townsfolk are forced to face threats from both the White Cloaks, led by vengeful yet conflicted Captain Dane Bornhall J. Duffy, and an army of Trollocs, commanded by another old enemy. If there is one area in which the Wheel of Time's return becomes unwieldy, it's more apparent as Season 3 goes on. Some characters have to take more of a backseat for an episode before we pick back up with them again, and some smaller storylines become less prominent in favor of the bigger battles and confrontations that need to happen in order to drive the larger plot forward. Other supporting characters introduced in Season 3 are clearly being set up to play a bigger role in a potential fourth season and don't earn very much to do in the meantime. There are also far too many death fake-outs that rob the real losses, when they do happen, of some of their narrative weight. Yet those are minor quibbles when considering that so many members of the show's ensemble are given critical moments to shine this season. Stradowski, who has definitively settled into his performance as Rand, has some of the heaviest lifting to do, particularly in Episode 4, which depicts one of the Shadow Rising's most anticipated sequences in stunning, unforgettable fashion. Rutherford, as well, is afforded a significant storyline through Perrin's return to the Two Rivers, where he's reunited with several nearest and dearest alongside a new face in Fail Isabella Bucheri, whose shrewd personality challenges Perrin to rethink his self-perception. Madden heartbreakingly navigates the intricacies of Egwene's lingering trauma and how it manifests through her efforts to maintain any form of intimacy with Rand, while Finn skillfully juggles the playful, roguish side of Mad with the half that's been irreparably changed since he became the Hornblower. Pike and Okanito also turn in some of their best work this season, as Moren and Sawan's emotional connection transcends physical distance while the Amerlin seat faces off with a new political foe. There's even a version of a musical episode, at least, as much as the Wheel of Time can offer one, that allows several cast members to demonstrate their singing chops and doubles as a welcome albeit brief instance of levity amidst much heavier moments. The Wheel of Time, Season 3 boasts complex heroes and villains. As the Wheel of Time has introduced more faces to its ensemble cast, the likelihood of the story becoming too big to contain was always a possibility. But one thing the series continues to succeed in is prioritizing its characters' development and evolution. As we see in Season 3, no one is ever wholly good or wholly evil, with complicated motivations painting a fuller picture of who these people have become or are already on their way to becoming. Antagonistic forces, like Leandrin, Lanfer, or the scheming Aleda du Averny Arroyhana commanding Shoreog Dashlu, aren't one-dimensional mustache twirlers, but their ambition and self-serving natures propel them to oppose other characters purely on the basis of conflicting goals. The show's decision to delve into their respective backstories this season also fleshes these women out beyond mere caricatures and allows for a deeper understanding of what drives them. However, if there's anyone who proves to be a force of nature on screen, it's Kostas Mahadian, whose mercurial moods and soft, unassuming tone of voice make for one of the Wheel of Time's most terrifying villains to date. We all saw how unsettled Lanfer was when Magi was introduced on the scene, and Season 3 doesn't waste any time in emphasizing the threat she represents, not just to Rand and his friends, but to the other members of the Forsaken who are introduced. This same level of character complexity extends to those who fall under the category of hero, but who are also struggling with the potential destinies that may await them based on any number of fateful choices. Rand, chief above all, knows that his continued use of the One power presents its own risk of making him go mad, like every other male channeler before him, but there's also the increasingly irresistible temptation that said power represents. Egwene is fed up with Aes Sedai politics but recognizes that securing a serpent ring as an accepted will open more doors for her as she hones her unique abilities with the help of the Wise Ones. Others, like Elaine and Avienda, are grappling with what's expected of them versus where their true desires really lie. Moiraine glimpses countless futures when she ventures into Ruideen alongside Rand, but has no way of knowing which one will come to pass while her and the dragon's lives are intertwined. More than anything else, The Wheel of Time Season 3 hovers around its most compelling themes of fate, destiny, and futures that may or may not happen, as well as a knowledge of the past that upends everything when it's ultimately revealed. Not only does it raise the stakes for arguably every character on a personal level, but as the last battle continues to loom, the external threats become that much more powerful, and that much more devastating, when they successfully land a blow. 3 seasons in, The Wheel of Time only continues to top itself through riveting performances, stunning new locations, well-defined world-building, and an arguably timeless fantasy narrative that more than deserves to play out for as many renewals as it takes to reach the very end. The Wheel of Time Season 3 premieres with its first 3 episodes March 13th on Prime Video, with new episodes premiering weekly thereafter. Give The Wheel of Time Season 3 a 9/10.